Alright, so the first video in this series was me designing Sunwoo for this visual novel. Now, I initially settled on this color palette for his main outfit, but then after editing the video, I sat on it for a while and realized that there were things that are off. The main thing that was off to me was how similar in tone the jacket and vest are. Whenever I make character designs, I always want to make sure overlapping things have different tones, but I didn't really clock it at first. Now, for those that are confused as to what I mean, I'll slap a desaturated filter and then zoom in to the jacket to explain. When you put things on grayscale, you can see their tone. Two colors may have different hues, but they can have the same tone. So when it's put through grayscale like this, it looks the same. In the colored version of the sheet, the jacket had a more blue hue while the vest was more desaturated. But under grayscale, they basically had the same tone. So to me, it looked extremely off. I had to fix it. And so let me show the actual reference sheet for this now. I just changed a few colors and lightened the shirt so I can have more contrast overall. I think I mostly kept the vibes, hopefully. So that was the main change to the design. Now obviously, it's good to have more references of the character, especially if they're your protagonist. Something I'm terrible at is consistency though, especially when it comes to head angles. So naturally, I thought to make a reference for that. And so here we are. I thought it would help me for the future if I had a reference sheet for how Sunwoo's head should look if he turned it from side to side. I think I'm not as consistent when it comes to drawing those 3/4 views. The first thing I do is work smarter, not harder. So I casually yoink the front and left side view from the main reference sheet I made earlier. Left for the character is our right, but I will still be talking in terms of where the character would see left and right for future reference. Anyways, I knew I had to draw a 3/4 view for each side, and then at the end, I did decide to include a back view. So that was basically 6 faces for this reference. I knew the facial features had to kind of line up for this face angle reference. So I did the classic method of making lines and then using them as my guide for where I should place each facial feature. The 3/4 view for the reference sheet turned out good. But then I looked at the side view and just thought to myself, I can do better. So it turned into me drawing 2 side views. In the end, the only thing I didn't need to try on was the front view. I always struggled on side views because they just look awkward when I draw them. I think I drew the side view a bit better, and at least it doesn't look like every other side view I do. Maybe. I don't know. I should probably keep track. After drawing all of the views, I had to rearrange them nicely on the sheet. Then it was time to do line art, which took way too long. As I've said so many times, I don't like doing line art. But I definitely have to do it for this instance since I won't even be shading these. Now I don't have too many comments about the line art process because, well, it's just line art. I think at least with it, I did have a few shortcuts I could do, such as drawing a part of the 3/4 view in the line art and then copying and reversing for the other side. So that did speed up the process a lot more than if I were to draw everything by hand. It was about the same process when I got to the coloring section, which you will see later. Just color and do everything for one side. Then you copy, paste, and flipped. But I will say that I could have adjusted the positions better to where things are more lined up on the sheet. The stuff on the bottom isn't 100% lined up with the top, so I still had to do some adjustments here and there. But it wasn't too bad. I'd take only drawing half of the things on this sheet than having to draw every little thing. Which for the next sheet you'll see after this, I did in fact have to draw everything. There's only a little bit left in the speed paint for this. The rest of this sheet didn't give me too many problems, so I'm grateful for that. That meant I got things done, and it helped that I wasn't nearly as distracted as I could have been. But anyways, I'll show the final sheet. Here is the finished sheet. I'm pleasantly surprised by my own abilities, but also, I did focus really hard on the 3/4 views especially. This sheet was very helpful for the next sheet you're about to see me do. Facial expressions say a lot about a character. Like, they might express their happiness in a certain way depending on their personality. So that being said, I thought an expressions reference sheet would actually be good to have for Sunwoo. While he has been a muse for years, I still thought about what kind of faces he'd make for different emotions. I've come to the conclusion that Sunwoo is surprisingly expressive. He seems like he'd be stoic, but he isn't. In my head, I imagine he tried to be all calm and nonchalant like his mentor and high-key father figure Yongsang. But Sunwoo isn't built like Yongsang, and he's more likely to have emotional outbursts. He also probably wears his emotions on his sleeve, like he is horrible at hiding them. This allows me to have a bit more fun with his expressions on this sheet. I am drawing his head multiple times, so this is why the head angle reference sheet was useful. I wouldn't have the facial features all line up exactly here, but looking at the sheet allowed me to keep things moderately consistent. This would also be good practice for my whole consistency problem, as well as help me get used to drawing Sunwoo himself. This sheet took so long because I was stuck at the sketching phase for a while. You see, I was trying to think about what expressions to include on the sheet, so a lot of the time was wasted on just thinking. I had an idea for maybe 4 expressions, but I wanted to do more. In total, I did 10 here, but all of it required my brain cells. I knew when I do this for the future though, it shouldn't take nearly as long because I'd already have a base on what to include. Smiling, blushing, crying, and being angry were all expressions I knew for sure I had to include, but obviously I went in and did a few more. I did a soft smile expression and then a bigger smile. I think Sunwoo would have moments where he'd do either one. Tries to be all nonchalant, but then he's smiling all wide like that. Then there is one where he looks horrified because he's probably seen something and is traumatized. I know he's going to go through it in the visual novel. Another expression I did was him looking uncomfortable, but it could be a calmer version of horrified. You'll notice later I made 2 blushing expression references because Sunwoo gets flustered easily. I tried to do one where he's looking down as practice for drawing other head angles because I need that. When I get to crying, you'll see me do the same where I try to draw a different head angle again. Then for the final expressions, 2 angry ones, a normal angry and then absolutely livid. I don't know what would get him that angry, but it's something. After the sketch was done, I locked in. I wanted to get this done as fast as I can, so I pushed through with the line art. I actually kept track of how long I spent on each expression. No more than 10 minutes. To be fair, it's not particularly detailed line art, but it would be embarrassing if I spent like 6 years on it, so yeah. I will say that drawing the line art for the mouths was fun. I tried to be a bit more expressive with the mouths. A different asymmetrical shape for some of the expressions because that's fun to me. I don't know, I love it when the mouths are like that. I think my style can be expressive if I tried, but I'm a little guilty of trying to keep everyone poker face so they look pretty. I tried not to do too much of that here though, but looking back at the crying, I high-key should have made it uglier. Sunwoo is definitely not a pretty crier. He's not built like Kaya. Actually, Kaya doesn't really cry. He just smirks and looks down at you, but this ain't about him. And besides, he'll get his own videos for this anyways because he is the other main character here. Because I wasn't shading this, when I eventually got to the coloring, it went by so fast. Like I sped through putting in all of the flat colors and then the light shading. I do kind of like this simple style though, without all of the crazy shading. Just flat colors with the cheeks and lips. But at the same time, I do like my rendering effects and full shading too. It was satisfying seeing everything colored, and when I finished the light shading, it was nice to look at. I really have no comments with all of this because usually this part of the process doesn't give me a hard time. It's not like line art where it's tedious, and I find coloring fun. I don't think I have much else to say when it comes to this, so let me show you guys the final expression sheet. And here is the final expression sheet. I now have something to reference off of, and I got practice drawing Sunwoo's face for this, so I think this was good overall. Anyways, I don't know when I'll do the next part of this, but hopefully in a week or 2. Depends on my mood. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye!